What feeds you is rent with the claws of your need, but needs dwell half in light and half in darkness, and virtue folds in the seam. If the demand of need is life, then suffering and death hold purpose. But if we speak of want and petty desire, the seam folds into darkness, and no virtue holds the ground. Needs and wants make for a grey world, but nature yields no privilege, and what is righteous will soon feed itself with the claws of your need as life demands.
Hello, and welcome to Legendarium Green Team's Malazan series, the third Dust of Dreams episode. My pseudonym is Hurin Fan, and I am joined today by Panda
Hello there.
and a very patriotic Ashaman.
Happy Canada Day, everybody. Sort of. Canada Day Eve.
Before we start, is there anything you want to share? Unfortunately, Janath will not be joining us today.
He had to work.
Yeah.
Yeah. Let's see, share.
Share.
Um,
I've been getting started with Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. It's very fun so far.
Ooh,
Yeah.
Exercise
very
is good.
nice.
Good.
What
Yeah,
what made you pick that one?
what uh I, it's the best, right?
Okay. It's the best.
But also it's just fun doing a grappling sport. You're not going to get concussions as easily, and it's like better wrestling, better, more
Okay.
skilled wrestling. Yeah.
I've lost like 4 kilos, so I'm pretty happy about that.
Oh, congrats.
Oh, nice.
And I saw Across the Spider-Verse, and I very, very much identify with Peter B. Parker in it.
I can see that.
I
Yeah,
haven't
Across the
watched it
Spider-Verse
yet.
it's so good. The
really,
art
really
the art
like
is
it.
the best part about it, and then the music is also great, and there are a lot of good characters. Very, very good characters.
I am excited to watch it soon-ish. But
You have to watch it in theaters at least.
well,
It's
yes,
definitely a
that
movie you
is
should
the
watch in
plan.
theaters.
That is the plan. I want to watch it within the next week. Um, and then, well, this weekend, starting tomorrow, um, Mr. Anderson and I are headed up to Victoria for our getaway. So
Where you're gonna
very
meet up with
excited.
Steve and share a coffee.
Pagliacci's.
I wish, but no, I am not going to. I will not ask a man to meet me in person.
Well, he writes in cafes, right? So you can just hunt for
Just
him.
walk around like, is that Steve? Is that Steve?
Steve,
That's the
why is book
stalker.
3 of Dust Dreams so boring?
Steve, when are you gonna finish No Life Forsaken so you can move on to Walk in Shadow again?
We are gonna go to Pagliacci for dinner.
I
So
hope it's
I am
good.
looking forward to that. Yeah.
Cool. So, I'll do the thingy. Today we'll be covering chapters 13 through 18. Spoiler warning, and there is a serious content warning for the content here, but I'm sure our listeners know that.
I would be shocked if they were listening to this episode and okay, sorry. Little Red Book is going to be listening to this episode probably, and she's probably the one person in the world that would listen to this episode without having read the book. So should we move on to start with chapter 13? Excellent. Chapter 13. Silch's Ruin exposits one of the endgame threats. Sandalath and Withal pick up the trail of the Sheikh. Kaliath is helped out by a group of undead Jagat. Sin and Grub discuss their origins. The ghost and his companions accept the aid of the resurrected Chamal drone.
I like that this book kind of started off with a discussion about Draconis and ending with Draconis, manifesting himself.
The the start of this chapter just really made me want to read Carcass again.
I know, right? It's like, how much is Ruin correct about Draconis, and how much is he just pontificating?
Yeah, I have my thoughts, but I guess that can wait to the spoiler episode. Panda, there's been a lot of talk about the Odotarl dragon this book. Where do you think that's going to be headed?
Well, is it Kilimandros that's going to supposedly unchain the Ototaro dragon and then let it wreak havoc, and then she's gonna fight it at
Yeah,
the end.
allegedly.
So
It
supposedly.
seems like all the elder gods kind of have like their own plans for the dragon.
Well, because the dragon is.
Yeah, Korobos. Yeah, yes, they
Yeah,
named it
yeah,
right.
yeah,
Yes,
they
I think.
did. Because the dragon's anti-magic, so it's like anti-elder gods. So it's like
Anti-fun
a
times.
well, I haven't met the dragon, like
Hey,
personally,
if
so.
magic is life and Orotunnel is anti-life, I mean,
Oh my god, I've just figured it out. What's his
What?
face? The DC villain is gonna show up looking for her.
Ant-Man? What? Who?
No, not
Oh,
Ant-Man is not a
sorry, that's
villain, nor is he
Marvel. Wow.
DC. No,
Cut
Darkseid. There
that
we
out.
go. He's always trying to find the anti-life equation, right?
Yeah, yeah,
oh
I
yeah.
guess he
right.
doesn't need it. It's just the Otarl Dragon, Korobos.
Yeah, what's it
He's a
called?
dummy. He's
Uh,
the wrong universe.
Steppenwolf was like one of them. His lackeys.
I have
No,
not.
no. Okay,
Yeah,
never
I
mind.
couldn't tell you.
Steppenwolf is one of his lackeys. And Darkseid is better than Thanos.
Dark side. That's what it is. Yeah.
You could be right, but unfortunately, the Justice League is very boring to me.
You are
But
wrong.
they got Batman and Flash.
Yeah, Batman is their claim to fame, right?
Well, Superman,
There is.
technically.
Have you even watched Justice League Unlimited? Because I don't think you have.
I've
I don't.
seen probably some of it as a kid.
No,
That
you gotta
explains it.
watch it like judiciously. Like you actually watch
It,
it,
it
not this like
it's
part
so
in,
good.
part out.
I
The
could.
whole DCAU is golden. Well, not the whole of it, but most of it's pretty good.
Most
Pretty
of it.
really good.
I do like some of the movies there. Dark Knight Returns is pretty excellent.
Mm.
Yeah.
I like the comic. But let's get to Malazan.
Yeah. What were we talking about? Ototola
Yeah,
dragon.
Darkseid, Anti-Laugh, Korobos.
anti-laugh.
Okay, so I have a confession.
Yeah.
Um,
You're gonna drop a bomb on us.
no, it's just I definitely wasn't paying as much attention, like reading through this section. And so there were just some things that I didn't pick up. And then all of a sudden, as we were starting this episode and you guys were talking, I was like, oh, yeah, now that makes sense. Okay. So there's probably
Excellent.
going to be a lot of that this episode.
I
Well,
will
Ash and I
say
can talk at you and to the listeners who did the same.
absolutely.
Cool.
I, I will say Rodolal is so boring to me. It's yeah.
Who is that?
Yeah, see? That's the
He's Udinasa's son, and
Udinasa son.
Selchas is taking care of him. He,
Yeah.
daughter
Oh,
of, or son of Menendor, and he's half mortal, half
yeah,
Elaine,
And his name
and he
means
wants
hands
to
of fire.
right.
take care of the refugium. I think I agree. Like, I like his story, but like he's just so blah. He's just like, I love these Emas.
Yeah,
I'm
he's
gonna
just like
protect them.
I'm just a good guy. A good, really boring guy. I
I
think I
mean,
even prefer early Crocus to him.
the guy is just like
I like Crocus
naive,
though.
you know? I think he's just naive and
He's not very
he,
old too. Yeah.
yeah, he hasn't had much experience, so,
Mhm.
he's just kind of flat.
He's just generically nice.
I will say
Nothing
I
wrong with
really
that.
enjoy Ruin talking to him. So I mean that's
Yeah.
cool.
Yeah, Ruin is
Yeah.
cool. I love Silchus Ruin. He's a really interesting character, I think.
Really,
But
he's just there to, show off Silchus Ruin. So,
Yeah, I
yeah,
guess.
he's a
yeah, we
supporting
need somebody
A fair
character.
way.
Ruin to talk to. Yeah.
Yeah.
You said in the DMs that you didn't care for the Withel Sandalath exchange.
Yeah.
Why? Like honestly, I think
Um,
it's my favorite part of this chapter. So I'm curious. Maybe second favorite because the Jack Hunt were great.
well, cause he's just so annoying, and Sandleth is like, I guess part of it
Mean.
is there were a lot of things being told to me, and this book has a lot of internal like monologue for a lot of different characters.
Mhm.
Mm.
Um, and I honestly have a hard time keeping track and like keeping separate some of these characters. Like these names, they just gloss. I just gloss over them because I'm like, there's not enough defining characteristic about you to make me really care. With Withel and Sandleth, it's like, okay, I get that they're in this relationship and she has like a lot of history and baggage and just like is taking it out on him, but then she also really loves, I think she's kind of bipolar, honestly. Um, the way that she treats him. Um, she'll be like, "Oh, and this look that he had, oh, how cute," and then just starts like bashing him again. I'm just like, okay, whatever. This, I'm not really quite sure what's going on with her.
Mm.
So,
So, part of it, okay, we know that her original life, ended in tragedy, right? Like, her and all
Well,
of
she
her people were
died.
kind of slaughtered by the Eater, I think it was,
hmm
and but
Yeah,
yeah,
her
before
life
that,
in Carquinus was not
yeah,
exactly
she
great.
was a professional hostage for her life.
hmm
So
Which really usually isn't a bad thing.
no, for her it was though.
For her, it was very bad.
Yeah, so she's got a lot of very unresolved trauma there,
hmm
and like all the Teist have trauma from the Civil War, and she hasn't actually had time to process it really because she spent most of her time in between the Civil War and now dead. Um, so a lot of that is coming to the surface, and this is why she's treating Withal badly because he's like the one that's next to her, and she can
hmm
vent essentially. Which is not to say
And
it's okay, but that's kind of what
he'll
she's
take
doing.
her punishment.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I love Withal. I I I pity Sandalath. I actually really enjoy her as a character, but I really like Withal. Just because I don't know. Even though there's like this bickering and there's fighting, like kind of with Pasta Megora, I just kind of get tired of those two. Whereas with Withal and Sandalath, like I could see the pain there and I could understand it better, and I could really, I don't know, just kind of enjoy the little pieces of that you could see between the love that really is there.
Did you
He's
feel
very
that way?
emotionally stable.
He is, yeah,
Did you feel that way
which
when
is
you
what
read
she
it the
needs.
first time?
Yeah.
Okay, so not like reading additional stuff outside of the series.
The only thing that's helped me, not in regards to Withel, but in understanding Sandalath, was knowing what happens in Carkness.
Hmm.
Okay.
Yeah.
Basically, all we know now is like bad stuff happened, and
Yeah, I
she's
mean,
traumatized.
I try to care about what happened, and it's just like
Well, she did
so.
watch a guy eat his own eyeballs.
Yeah.
Yeah, she did, but
I
it's
did quite like
also.
how she said, he should have eaten his own tongue. Galen, you're a poet. Come on.
I mean, she has a point.
She does.
Um, she doesn't know that Orphantal's dead, does she?
No, I don't think so.
Yeah, I have that to look forward to.
Hmm.
Um, let's see. I I gonna guess that you did not care about the snake at all.
Nope.
Okay, as I also love that part. But on my first reading, I was less caring so much.
There is a part. I was never indifferent to the snake, but the part where I thought they were starting to get really interesting is I think the next book of Dust of Dreams.
Well, I think hmm, obviously they're very meta, and a lot
Hmm.
of I think Erikson writing this knew exactly how a lot of readers would respond because he puts in lines like, "So many fallen," she said to Sadek, who remember everything. I could list them. I could make them into a book of 10,000 pages long, and people will read it, but only so far as their own private borders, and that's not far, only a few steps.
Yeah, and they do get kind of like explicitly meta at certain points when Badal is talking about like how she's observing the various conflicts that are going on in her
Hmm.
dreams and taking what's his face along with her.
But you at least enjoyed the Jag Hut, right?
Cool.
You at least enjoyed getting to talk with Whiskey Jack again, right?
And Mallet?
Mallet.
That was cool. Well, so here's the thing, right? Like at this point, I'm like, whoever died in, the previous books, like they're probably just still floating around in some form somewhere.
Hmm.
Um, and
Say
so
almost everybody, yeah.
yeah, um it's kind of not as impactful for me where it's still nice, like, oh hey, I got to see Mallet again. But it's not like an oh my god, it's Mallet, you know?
Yeah. So of course, we've known for a long time that like in Malazan, the dead they just like their spirits go somewhere, right? And they kind of like hang out until they fade into oblivion. Um, but yeah, I appreciate the commentary here, and like no one ever really escapes death unchanged, right?
Mm.
Um, so like it's still like talk here, like he's so horribly horribly scarred from his ordeals. Um, and so like it doesn't feel like his death was meaningless to me, or like it was
I
yeah,
don't I don't think it's meaningless, and like, at the time, especially reading it for the first time, like I didn't know what was going to happen right afterwards. And so, when Mallet died, like it was sad. I did feel sadness, but in the back of my head I'm like, I'm probably going to see this guy again,
hmm.
somehow. So,
Ideas and cultures die out faster than people in this series.
apparently.
Yeah. The Army of Undead Jagat, I they're cool for me. I hate how they're just laughing at everything. Like I get it. I totally get why they're doing it. It's just annoying when they like say something and it's like, and everyone laughed. And then someone said something and they all laughed
Ah, ha, ha,
again.
ha, ha. Ha, 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 ha. Even
Ah,
so and so
You
laughed. Ha,
gotta
ha, ha,
enjoy
ha.
the little things. And a lot of what they said was funny though.
a lot of it wasn't though.
No, a lot of it was. Uh, I'm honestly speaking, my first time through the series, this is what made me fall in love with the Jag Cut.
Really?
Yeah, this
Oh wow.
army.
Interesting. I would have thought it would be like Gothos.
I mean, Gothos is awesome, and Ikariam's awesome, and Hood is awesome, and I loved all of that stuff. But it all came together when I met their army.
I don't count Akarium as a Jagat in my mind.
Okay,
Yeah.
Well, I think
He's so different.
this army was refreshing
and
because
raced.
it gave a different perspective of the Jekka, and it's like it's more lighthearted rather than the very depressed and lots of baggage kind of perspective. Like they gave me insight into the Jekka that I didn't really have before. Like they actually are a group and not individualistic, and they gave you some insight into what was happening, and their view on the mass that wasn't as jaded.
It wasn't informed by their undead nature either.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so that was fun.
Yeah, it is nice seeing Jagat work together as a group rather than just like
Yeah.
being the most antisocial creatures in the universe here.
Hmm.
The only thing that
Which is
brought them
almost
together
rare.
was a war.
Yeah. Yeah, they got brought together by war and they're pretty angry
But
about
they,
at Hood.
they did acknowledge, like, look, it was a few Jaga tyrants, and then all of us got, punished for it. So
Hmm.
even they were like, ugh, woe
Didn't
is
they say
me.
that the Amas were just killing the Jag Cut because the Jag Cut were too noble and they were jealous?
That was that's so frustrating to read.
It was beautiful. I loved it.
I of course you did. That's that I think it's kind of just a dumb statement.
I think it's apt.
I I don't see it. I don't see Jaghat nobility. Like it's in some aspects I do, but like it reminds me of something that like I do legitimately have a problem with when like the characters are saying, "Oh, my people's sorrow is so extreme," and then another person comes and is like, "Oh, that poor fool. They know nothing of the sorrow of my people." And then someone else comes in and is like, "Ah, yes, your people's sorrow is as nothing to mine." It's like, come on, guys.
They just have
Like,
competitive nature. They want to one up
and
each other.
one up each other. I don't know how much of this is meant to be like an objective statement. Like maybe it's not. Maybe like when in Told the Hounds when someone was saying, "Oh yes, the Tice's sorrow is as nothing to the Jagcut." Um, maybe that was just an empty statement because the person's just hopelessly biased. But
Self-absorbed.
yeah, but like it didn't get any pushback either. So I don't know.
Yeah.
I think it might have been ironic.
I think so. I
Maybe.
think that a lot of the conversations, like especially the part where one of them was like talking about, "Oh yeah, we could totally take the Amass. We could totally take the Talon Amass." And then they're like, "Yeah, but then why are there so few Jaggeds left and so many Amass left?"
That was funny. Yeah. Where did they all go? Not that there were very many Jacob in the first place. It
I
seems.
think the army is hard to understand because they're talking on so many different levels of irony that you don't know
Mm,
really where it ends and where it stops. And
And so
then
many different levels of baggage.
yeah, but yeah, that's why I love the Jackut.
they were fun and cool.
So we should also discuss how the bridge burners are kind of taking Hood's place. That's an
Yeah,
Mhm.
interesting idea, right? Finally,
Mhm.
some gods of death that actually, you know, like they're not like hopelessly jaded like a Jaghut is.
Well, what was interesting is somebody made the comment like they still remember, what it was like to live and the pain and like
Mhm.
they, that memory um makes it so that they're not as objective as Hood was. But like Hood used to be a living jacket and he knew like the pains.
Uh,
So,
yeah, even when Hood was alive, I'm not sure how um, personable he was. Let's say.
mm, okay. Do you ever actually get like a story about him?
Yeah, yeah,
yes.
absolutely. You can read Carcass.
Oh.
All right.
Okay. Well, maybe.
Were
Well,
you surprised at all by the reveal that the bridge burners were taking over Hood's duties?
no, I can't say I'm surprised. I think it's
Okay,
cool.
okay.
But
'Cause,
I mean, like all the stuff
they're
with Whiskey Jack, it's like it was pointing in that direction.
that's what I was about to
Yeah.
say because we've been not so subtly pointing out all of these tiny what's the
Mm,
word,
Foreshadowing.
foreshadowing. Thank you.
Yeah, if you remember all the way back in Guardians of the Moon, Whiskey Jack was given the
the
card Mason of
Mason.
Death.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it wasn't
Nice.
clear if it was Fiddler or Whiskey Jack at the time too.
yeah,
Yeah, there's
Who
so many
knows?
hints.
Maybe at the end
Next
Fiddler will
chapter,
take his place.
yeah,
neither
Yeah.
did
maybe.
I. How would you feel about that?
Yeah. Well, I don't know.
Oh yeah, ghost stuff.
Ghost stuff. Yeah.
He's concerned with memories and not sure if it's his memories or other people's memories. I don't
It
know.
was clearly
Memories.
pointed out to me in later chapters who the ghost was, and I was like, damn it. Why didn't I think of
Yep.
that?
Yeah, he was very scared of a mysterious sword, a spear wielder. Sorry, it was troll,
Yeah.
like you had guessed. Yeah,
So, anyway.
yeah. This is Ikarium's finding himself journey, um, which I appreciated quite a bit this time, but I did not care about it all the first time around.
Mm,
I felt the same way. Like I'm really liking it now because I can actually follow what's happening.
Yeah,
mhm.
It's like because his sections are really opaque.
hmm
Uh-huh. Yep. And I gloss over a lot of it.
Like maybe a ghost who doesn't know who they are, thinking about other people who aren't really quite sure of their identity either. And it's just the POV is fantastic. I mean, it's written very well, but
hmm
it's just hard to care about.
like each one of them, like the ghost companion section could have just been like a standalone short story. I think
Mm.
Mm.
just like a group of travelers exploring a ruined city and reminiscing about the failures of their lives and how they got there.
Yeah, it really didn't quite fit into, like the bar gas, like what's happening there, what's happening with the Malazan. It was just like inserted, Sometimes
Oh
it was
yeah,
like da 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 da. Da. Okay, hold on. Let's go back to this group of people. And I'm like, can we just move on?
it's 100% character work, very little plot work.
But
Yeah.
I how we know Ikarium's going to come on the scene at some point, right? Though, how would
hmm
you feel if he just kind of just appeared without any, I don't know,
I think it's
setup?
mostly like there are so many insertions of this
Mm.
group. Like just
Mm.
make it a few, and more
Mm.
poignant.
But
And then,
we definitely needed more drone POV. I like the drone.
We would need more nanobot POV, I
I
think.
mean, sure, why not?
The
Um,
nanobots should really have taken over the world at this point.
that and moving sand and mud or whatever. Um,
Mm.
so in chapter 13 we do get a little bit more of Sin and Grub, and there was this conversation between the two of them where Sin was like, Grub, you were born from the chain of dogs, like you didn't
Yeah.
have a life before the chain of dogs. And he's like, what are you talking about? Like, what do you mean? He's like, you've got no mother, you've got no father, like, and that was like kind of deep. um and I wasn't sure if she meant it metaphorically or if Grub like somehow was this manifestation of the chain of dogs in human form.
Yeah, I don't know which it is either. And I think she was being serious,
Hmm.
and it
Huh.
kinda seemed to affect Grub.
Yes, very much
Yeah,
so.
he saw her point.
Well, yeah, because he can't remember what happened before the
Hmm.
chain of dogs, right?
And
But
she
at the
brought up
same
some good
time,
points.
I mean, he was a kid, so how much would you remember, you know? But yeah, that to me, because the way that the magic works in this world is quite mysterious at times. So I do buy it if it did get revealed that actually Grub was this manifestation of the chain of dogs, and that's why he knows so much about these things.
I want to believe it, and I think it'd be cool, especially because we know that he is later the first Sword of the Empire. I don't know, I like the idea of the first Sword of the Empire being a manifestation of the Chain of Dogs.
On a metaphorical level as well, like to me, it seems clear. Like this is the type of person, like Robinson. This is the type of person that the world of suffering that exists right now it makes. So this is like what the children of the snake that survive might grow into. This is what like the survivors of the Barghast might be. And we see Talk in this as well. She's like another one of the survivors. The This is what the suffering produces. These characters, who are sometimes extraordinary and sometimes very broken, and sometimes both, often both. And
Usually both.
yeah, and we Sin also thinks like, yeah, she was essentially made at the same time as Grub. And interestingly, she brings up Kalam
Hmm.
because yeah, he showed her the way. She was in crisis. She had recently gone through some very traumatic times, and he showed her that the solution to her problems is killing the people that are standing in your way.
Good guy,
And
Kalam.
yeah, and then he just left.
He
So
he was an assassin, and he ran into some trouble. So
yeah, yeah, Kalam's character is fine, but the effect that he's had on like this girl
yeah,
specifically is like horribly destructive, right?
it's kind of like Absalar's impact on Crocus.
Yeah, and Cotillian's impact on Absalar, but Cotillion came back and was like, "Absalar, I'm very sorry I did this to you. Can I try and
My
fix this?"
bad.
Yeah,
I was
and
peer pressured into it.
yeah, it like Kalam hasn't like thought thought of Sin since. To be fair, he's been busy, but still,
Oh, he was
um,
also unconscious for a long time.
yeah, yeah, he's
Ah,
still
he's still
unconscious as far as we
unconscious.
know. Yeah,
Yeah.
um, yeah, and then she talks about like the journey up to that point when she took like the fire elemental into herself. She's kind of like a Mybe in that way.
Mm.
Um,
She doesn't even use
yeah.
magic anymore. She is just fire.
She just is, yeah, she just is fire at this point. Her blood is fire. She is enormously powerful.
So she's fire, and what's his face is the hand of fire. Is that like a
Rudalal,
connect?
Redalal.
Yeah. Is that
Hands
like
of
a
Fire.
connection?
It's like a thematic aesthetic connection because
Okay.
Kaliath also talks about how she needs to find her Hands of Fire as well.
Yeah. Oh,
Yeah,
so Callith is the destriant, and then the is it the parish, or
Yeah, the
they have
Greyhounds.
a
The parish. Shield Anvil.
shield
they have a
and
shield
anvil.
and mortal sword.
Yes. So my guess is those three would find each other and make a complete triumvirate,
I
maybe.
see. So the parish are missing a Destriant, and so Shield serve it, and they got okay.
Yes,
Interesting.
that's my guess.
Um, at the moment, Kaliath is the sort of destriant of the Shamal
Right.
rather than the wolves.
Right.
But
But she's searching, and she's like,
Yeah.
well, these dinos are dying out, basically.
Yeah. And as she loses their influence on her, she seems to be getting better at leading them to where
Hmm.
they need to go, despite her actually getting, in an intellectual sense, stupider. All right, like they care for like an IQ boosting oil. Now she doesn't have access to it, and she's slowly losing it.
Mm.
Hmm. Should we move on to chapter 14?
Yes.
Okay.
Chapter 14, the Volcando and the Burned Tears reach a peace agreement after the Burned Tears thoroughly best them in several engagements. I'm kind of, well, of course I'm upset that Janeth couldn't be here. This is I was looking forward to talking to him about this since he said he enjoyed the Volcando Queen so much.
Oh
She's one of my
yes.
favorite characters in this book. She's great.
That's so interesting to me. To me, she really reminds me of Lazine,
Mm,
you know?
I see.
Like her
Uh,
place in the power structure is virtually identical, and she's more charismatic than Lazine is, but she's making the same kinds of decisions that Lazine would, right?
killing all of her friends.
Letting all of her friends drown. Like this queen absolutely would and probably has killed a lot of her friends in the interest of keeping her rule intact, right?
I mean, she doesn't come off as like paranoid to me. She just comes off as confident and awesome.
Hmm. Well, she did say that her entire people were prone to seeing everything as conspiracy, right? She, like this is the kind of kingdom she rules, and she talks a lot about how
Yeah, and she said
everybody
it as a
is.
criticism, not
Yeah,
as something
absolutely.
about herself.
Yeah, absolutely. And like everyone's plotting against everyone else, and she doesn't seem to really be interested in changing that. She just kind of wants to be left to it.
Well, I like her because her advisor Bargast explained to her about hobbling, and she says, "I'm going to cut your cock off if you ever say that again." And she's supremely confident, and she's the leader of their military, or at least the Legion, and she considers that just as important, if not more than, or at least according to Gaul, because he introduces her as the leader of the Legion before being a queen, which I think was cool. Well, she
Well,
got red
he is
hair.
a
Red hair's cool.
warrior too, so
Yeah,
Yeah,
but
game
and
recognizes
it shows
game.
that respect. Yeah,
yeah, and in that confrontation, like that is the mask that she was wearing, right?
Yeah.
The general of the army, like being queen, is secondary in that instance. But yes, she is like seems to be like the one Volcando leader that understands that. There's the evil chancellor who was just like an incompetent bureaucrat, probably, you know, who knows how he got where he was, but he just like constantly antagonizing his general and undermining him and belittling him. So yeah, the queen is definitely the best of the Volcando bureaucrats, and it's
I
not
agree.
even close.
Although
Yeah.
she is quite scary, she has earned the fear of certain people because,
Hmm.
she showed like the principal agents of, the corruption in her kingdom, and all you see is
and
their
welcomed it.
skin.
Yep.
Yeah. Yeah, she skinned them all. But the Volcando are horrible.
Yeah. It was also nice hearing about, I always like hearing about the Malazans from somebody who's not Malazan, and they'd be
Yeah.
like, "Oh man, those guys are scary." And you hear
Yep.
about the chain of dogs.
Yeah.
Yeah, oh, it was so cool hearing. I forgot what his name. Spanx.
Spax.
Spax. I prefer Spanx. When Spanx
Okay.
is, he's like, yeah, and they delivered all of them. She's like, but they died. He's yeah, but they won.
Yeah.
Yeah, I just got chills.
Yeah, that was really cool.
The thing that prevents me from getting fully on board with the queen is like, so she understands power. She recognizes that her culture is morally decadent, and she doesn't really seem to be interested in changing it at all. And she doesn't
Mm.
like there's no indication that she's trying to change it. She's just kind of like, oh, this is a system I work with, So I guess I'm trapped in it as the queen, the most powerful person in the kingdom. I don't know. We can move on from discussing her though.
I like her. I think she's interesting.
For sure. For sure, she's interesting. Absolutely.
Tentacling continues to be a disgusting POV, and yet still has pretty valid criticisms.
He sure does.
I kind of feel icky after reading it, but I'm like, he's not wrong.
He's not wrong. Yeah.
Who's that again?
He's the shield anvil of the parish.
Okay, yes.
He's the guy like, I'm not gonna like help people. I'm looking out for myself. And I'm gonna
He's
judge everybody.
he's the one that says, "I'm not going to give out redemption for free. People are going to have to earn it."
Right.
Yeah. Which when you put it like that, it doesn't sound so bad. Ash.
Yeah. It kind of sounds like that's the position almost everybody in the world has.
I think he's gonna get replaced.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Um
Um
yeah, circling back to the conversation Gaul has with the queen. That was excellent.
I
I
loved it.
yeah,
Gaul
and
is so great. Like I
yeah.
love the Kundral, and I especially love Gaul, and I love his relationship with his wife, and it's just so heartbreaking. And then him losing his son and meeting all the people together, it was just so fun to read.
Yep.
As you cry.
Like he lost his son,
Yeah.
and I don't know, just their relationship's beautiful, even though it's all kind of messed up.
Yeah, and like he was really torn up about Vedith dying, the one-time friend of his son.
Mm,
Um and he like figured he was probably sending this kid off to his death, and or he
right.
might be. And he was really troubled by it. He's like the Crani leader as well. Scepter or Cruelis or something like that. But yeah, the conversation he has with his wife at the end is excellent. It's like a small moment of healing. They learn to actually talk about their problems. What a
Mm-hmm.
notion.
And eat together as a family, even though the kids are gonna be like, "What?
And yeah, and they
What are
forgive
we
each other
doing?"
they forgive each other for what they've like done, you know.
Yeah.
She tells him like, yeah, some of the kids are yours.
Like, yeah, I deserve that.
Yeah. Um, the the exchange Gaul has with the queen, I really like it. To me, it seems that the I get the sense that the Evertime Legion, absolutely formidable fighting force, exclusively when fighting other Volcando, like peasant armies. You know, oh, they haven't retreated one step in one battle ever. Yeah, because have you seen the quality of the people around here? It's like that. Yeah, it's probably just like Chinese peasant armies the whole time. So no, yeah, no wonder they're not retreating. I'm absolutely in the camp. They would have got annihilated by the Condril, then the Parish, then the Malazans.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
I also like uh what's his face? Yeah, it is Spax, right?
Okay.
Because she tells him to watch carefully and he was like, "So, do you want to like call back that, that kid, the Kundrel pup?" Because she was like flirting with him.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah, yeah. She was angry at him for seeing too much.
Yes.
Stop it,
I was like,
Spax.
"You told me to watch carefully."
He's told me not carefully. Yeah.
Next chapter.
Chapter 15? Yeah. Chapter 15. Tok is forced to turn Tool away from his afterlife, and Tool regains his undead body. Olar Ethel rants about her evil plans to destroy humanity. Hitan is hobbled. The Barghast spend a night killing each other.
Poor
Ah, don't they
Tool.
just deserve it? Oh, poor Tool. Poor Talk.
Poor
Poor Hitan.
Talk. Yeah, poor all of them. At least the kids escaped.
Poor everybody except for like most of the Barghast.
Yeah,
I mean,
They
poor them
deserve it.
for growing up in such an awful culture.
true.
I poor me because at the end of the chapter, it was at the end of the chapter when Tool picks up the sword, right?
Yes, he had people to kill.
He had people to kill, and I was like, yes.
Yeah.
So yeah, made me feel bad.
The specter of their past misdeeds is coming to exterminate them. Oh my god. Pathos. Um, I think Olar Ethel's speech is perfectly placed, I think, here. She's going on about like, oh, big lore stuff, by the way. She says all these things. She's like, I am Burn, the sleeping goddess. I
Yeah,
am the one who tends the gardens of the moon. I am this, I am that. What do you think about the Panda?
I'm just thinking, how could she be?
That-
I
yeah,
I
that's a
don't
good thought.
I don't know how. But she is like really old.
She's very old. Yeah.
So
She's one of the oldest beings in the series.
maybe she is Burn. And if that's the
And
case,
one of the
then I
most
think
despicable.
yeah. I think like is she supposed to be the other to the older Taro dragon? maybe.
Interesting. Interesting.
Yeah, Oler Ethel. Have I mentioned what her aspects are yet?
Well,
Maybe not.
she
I'm just gonna do
she
it again.
was the dragon. She's a
She was, yeah, the undead
The undead
dragon.
dragon.
yeah.
She's primarily fire and dust aspected now,
Okay.
and of course she was also um, partially earth aspected. She described herself as, I think here.
Mm.
She called herself Stone Bitch, or the Jagat called her Stone Bitch.
Oh yeah.
Yeah,
I don't know.
yeah. It's a cool rant, and also like at this point in the book, it's like it's oh man, it's kind of hard for like she totally has a point, right? Like they're if people are able to do such horrible things to each other, right? Like why is it worth saving, right?
Yeah.
Are you an evil overlord, Ash?
Am I an evil overlord? No, no. I
No, he's just saying he can see her point of view.
She totally has a point. She absolutely has a point, and like everybody sees it sometimes, right? Like how many times is like it's just casually tossed around? Oh, humanity needs to be exterminated or whatever. You know, that's settled all the internet.
From her POV, I got this lady is just evil, and she should stop torturing my poor talk and tool, and she
she's
should maybe get a hug.
she's like an ancient, like she's like the oldest mother, right? So like she's
Yeah.
seen her children slaughtering each other and doing horrible things to each other, like for hundreds of thousands of years, and she's just fed up at this point, right?
Yeah.
I think when your goal is hate, you should probably reevaluate your goals.
Like sure, but like you can see where she's coming from, right?
What? I don't want to agree,
So-
He just won't
but
say it
I'm
out
not
loud.
going
sure,
to.
sure. And she is most importantly pretty cool here.
I think she's a
She's
little
got
unhinged.
a cool speech. Unhinged, yeah, yeah, a little bit. Yeah. Um, yeah, the Tool Talk confrontation. Oh, horrible to read.
Yeah, that's
Poor Tool.
yeah. What a horrible chapter.
Yeah,
Just all around.
horrible chapter.
I,
Um,
oh, what got me the most was the children's POV, them running from people that they used to love, really, or people who
mhm,
they used to
They
be friends
trusted.
with, and yeah, yeah, God, that was rough.
yeah, and uh, obviously stuff stuff like this happens, right? Like he's not inventing anything here, really. Um, sometimes I was at the Holocaust Museum in Montreal, and that that was a good thing to visit while I was reading this book, I think, because you get a lot of very similar themes. A lot of
Ouch.
very similar themes.
See, I've been watching a lot of Bluey lately, and I was thinking the same thing. What a good thing to be like enjoying while I'm reading Dust of Dreams.
Oh, I thought you were saying that like oh
Yeah, I was like,
the
what?
themes of Bluey were reminding you of Dusted Tree.
There's actually a really good episode about handling death as a child.
Mm.
It's
All
one of my
right.
favorites.
Should we discuss the hobbling?
Sure.
It's one of the more controversial aspects of the series. Hand, what are your thoughts on this?
Wait, it's controversial?
Yeah,
Well, doesn't
yeah,
vary. People
a,
sometimes like stopped reading at that point.
yeah. A lot of people get pretty mad at Steve for this, and like, there's a lot of questions like, oh, why did you include this? This is so horrible. Uh, you have so much
Hmm.
violence against women, etc.,
Why
etc.
did you make him read it?
Yeah.
Well, I did read Consider Pholebus before I read this section, and there were parts in Consider Pholebus that were way worse. In Yeah, I would say that was worse. Um, but in this case, I mean, like, okay, I guess I can see why it's controversial, but there have been so many like graphic and just assaults on humanity, like of
Hmm.
people, in previous books leading up to this, that to me it wasn't like, I didn't feel like it was out of place, like he did it for shock value or anything. It was, I mean, you saw how savage the Bargas people are. It, to me, like fits the context of who they are, like what their society is and their culture is. And I don't know if his intention was to like make you feel very conflicted about the Barghast people, but also like tipping the scale so that you are more leaning on the side of, oh my goodness, these people are horrible. I am not rooting for them. Because that's where I am. Uh, but it's not I didn't think it was necessarily out of place. It's just like kind of the realities of conflict. And Hidden had power, right? People were jealous of her. People wanted her for themselves, wanted to possess her because she was beautiful. And like this is a way for people to act out those feelings. Um, and this was an acceptable way for them to do so. I mean, like, if these people yeah, these people, like, they can't live in peace. This is just not how they are brought up, and, like, their whole identity isn't about being peaceful. So it really showcases, like, at an individual level, this is who they are.
Yeah,
But
yeah,
I think
that was well put, I think. And
one thing that I think people really dislike about this storyline is that when we're first introduced to the Barghast, we kind of like him.
mhm.
Yeah.
Like we got Trotz in book one, and Trotz. I mean, it's not like he had a large role, but he's cool. And then we got
Mhm.
like Trotz taking the Barghast and like making them part of their army so they could fight the bad guys, right? And we got this Hayton who's a badass warrior, and she's cool, and she's just I don't know, she's cool. And
Yeah.
then in book nine, Steve's like, "Oh, do you really want to see what like this kind of society is like? Here you go." um, so I think that's one of the reasons why people don't like it,
I see that.
among whatever reasons.
But I think it's
Yeah,
also like those were more exceptions than the norm of who these people are.
yeah, I agree. And yeah, like you were saying that like this is the way their society is structured. This is the acceptable way for them to have catharsis for all these bad feelings that arise as a result of their society. And one of the female characters says, "Oh, the hobbling is essentially how we get out our bad feelings towards how we're treated
Mhm.
because or something like that."
How many
And
times did you laugh at a man beating his wife?
mhm,
Mhm.
Yeah.
yeah, and also like the yeah the human desire to like to jealousy and want to see people torn down, and the mob mentality of kind of swarming over them and ripping them apart when they show like a hint of weakness or they make a small misstep. Like, geez, that sounds kind of familiar. uh, to I think anybody who's around and has any sense of the zeitgeist right now, right? Like not to the same extent for sure, but
Reminds
like
me
it's
of
the same impulse.
it reminds me of Fellison, really, and the whole culling of the nobility.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. And you know, like we have so many socially acceptable ways to be horrible to one another, and I think that's an excellent thing for Steve to be calling out here. And I think it's a shame that more people don't take it to heart.
I will
He has
admit oh, go ahead.
he has an essay about this that he wrote for Tor.com and
Hmm.
for that reread, and it actually was really eye opening for me
Hmm.
as a novice reader and didn't really understand like why would you put this in here, and I don't know, I would recommend it. Maybe we could put it in the show notes or something.
Yeah,
His basic reasoning was like, I was at the time I was reading about the systematic rape of indigenous peoples in Canada when they set up schools or something, and I literally wrote this for them so that you could, I mean, you could look away, you could stop reading, but they can't. Like these things, like whatever I put you through is nothing compared to like the real suffering that's happening. And
hmm,
Mhm.
I think Steve has always been wanting to do that with his, you know, his writing, showing people like the closest they can actually get. Like what Badal was saying earlier, I'm gonna write a 10,000 page tome, and people will only engage with it to a certain extent, but I will make them engage to that.
yeah. He also he brings up like torture generally, and how like the example of the foot beatings and how someone who's had their like had their foots beaten, they will never walk again without pain in their life.
Mhm.
and his wife says essentially, yeah, you don't look away because these people exist, and it's important to acknowledge their suffering, and hopefully to become the kind of person that doesn't perpetuate this kind of suffering in the world, because people are capable of it. Even if you don't think that about yourself, you probably are in the right circumstances capable of perpetuating this kind of thing. So it's
And not
important to
not
think
just
about it.
it's important to think about it. It's also important to I don't know, try to not just help yourself with these things, but like what I think we were talking about last episode, right? It's like people maybe it was a couple episodes ago. I forgot what they were talking about, but it was about people who can pat themselves on the back because they don't do this. And
Hmm.
it's kind of it doesn't help anybody. It doesn't even
Hmm.
help yourself. Like you need to be proactive about these kind of things and like I'm calling myself out because I don't do enough.
Yeah.
And it doesn't need to be like I'm not calling for ultimate empathy of like, oh, you have to care about this and you have to care about this, but just care about something and try to make something better. Uh,
Yeah, blind optimism helps nothing. I think that was the,
that's yeah, that was it. Yeah,
and also just uh, cynical
pessimism.
pessimism, unending pessimism also doesn't help anything. You know?
Yeah, I think there is one part that when I was reading the hobbling parts, I guess, um, more the aftermath, I admit I was a little annoyed. Um, and I was a little annoyed at the part where I I don't remember her exact name, but the lady that Bakal like gets to help him lead Hitan out of the camp. And that lady was the one who was saying like, we laugh or like we, um, are mean and taken part of the hobbling because we don't want to be um, the victim. Um, and to me, the part that I got a little annoyed was like, Erickson, who are you as a man to be writing about like, the treatment of women on women? Um,
Women
that
turning each other
that
down.
yeah, it's like, is this just like your perception of how women treat each other? But I mean, that was I didn't really like think ill of Erickson. It was a thought that I had where I was just like, oh, it is making me uncomfortable. Um, but then, I give him the benefit of the doubt, and he's really just reflecting humanity, like how people treat each other, good and bad, and everything in between. So, yeah, take it for what you
I
will.
Yeah, a question there then. Like, do you disagree with him about what she was saying about how the nature of women on women violence here?
Mean, I think it's one aspect. Like, I'm not gonna say like, oh, that's absolutely wrong. Um, but I think there's just more facets to it. I mean, whether it's from jealousy, whether it's from, self-hatred, whether it's from, you know, traumatic past and you're acting out on it. Um, so it could be a lot of different things. And it's not just like women on women, it's also men towards men. Like
Hmm.
there's a whole different side of male relationship that, can also be problematic.
Yeah, you don't say.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So
That was chapter 15,
yeah. We go chapter 16.
Dust of Dreams.
Um, Chapter 16. Erastus is humiliated before the Elder Gods. Bottle receives a horribly insulting offer for sex as the rest of the Bone Hunters get it on. Uh, I this is the part that affected me the most. Just like when
what?
uh, what's her face, Cinter, was it, or
It
kisses
was
her or
Yeah.
Center,
something?
yeah.
Yeah, it's just, she's like the most insulting possible way to ask a man to have sex.
I wasn't sure if she was serious about propositioning him, but then it seemed like she was, and I was
I
like,
think she
"Okay,
was.
girl."
Yeah, I
Yeah.
think she was. Yeah.
Oh man, like I feel so bad for Bottle.
Just everyone else around him is, having a good time, and I'm
Hmm.
along center, and she's just like, you're the worst, but I kind of Are you interested? Because
Because
you're the
I wouldn't feel
worst.
very
So
jealous or possessive at all after our sex together. Like, that's not even a thought that crossed my mind, Bottle. But Fiddler has his eye on you, and I guess it's good for me to get to know you and like
you have the right parts. I have the right parts. I'm not really attracted to you, but
there are two other people that I am attracted to and I'd be interested in pursuing a relationship with.
and you
But
are
you're
not
here now,
those
I
people.
guess.
You're a safe choice.
You are zero threat to either of them, and I don't have to worry about feelings at all.
It was so funny and so sad.
Yep.
That was funny, and I felt bad for Bottle, but every time we get it, like the camera, the POV on Herb, uh, pining after Helly, and I always just I don't know, my heart pangs a little bit.
Yeah.
Like Herb,
What does
go
he
for it, Herb.
see in her? Oh my goodness. That's my thought. Like,
Listen, if men were rational in their attraction to women, the world would be a
all
very different
right.
place. Or
All
vice
right.
versa. Right?
Fair. Fair.
And Good continues to be interesting,
Yeah.
Ruth and Good.
and Rum Jugs and Sweetlard are fantastic additions to the Bone Hunter army, in my opinion.
Yes. Absolutely. They were great recruits. Good on whoever recruited them, Master
Uh-huh.
Sergeant Pores.
Was he pretending to be kindly at the time? I forget.
I don't
Yeah,
remember.
I think so.
At the same time, it's really sad because they're just like, oh, we're getting so many marriage propositions because everyone thinks they're gonna die.
Yep.
Yeah.
And
And
this
yeah,
is why everyone's screwing each other too.
right.
Except for Bottle.
Bottle.
Oh man.
Um, it,
He was so lonely. He was thinking about the aerosol.
I
Yeah.
know. He's like, oh, she hasn't been by in a while.
Oh, Bottle wasn't the only one not getting it. Banish also has no luck.
Yeah, but he's not really trying, right?
He's like he's like preemptively acknowledged that like he has no chance at all. But
Yeah.
he has like this little bit of hope that he keeps trying to kill.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
The
And
stud on the
Lostariel's just like
maps.
she's just not even noticing.
Well, she's got other problems
Yeah,
on her mind.
absolutely.
Um,
You know who I think would make a great match? Bottle and Tavor. Although Tavor is lesbian. But if she wasn't, then
I mean, Tavor could be bi.
she could be.
Maybe.
We would never know because she doesn't display any outward attraction to anybody. Not even Tamper.
Yeah.
Well, there were some. There was like, she looked at Timber in a certain way, and then
Yeah, she
she,
was very upset when she died, which
Yeah.
yeah, she sobbed.
Oh
is,
man.
if anything, it means that she was. We never see that reaction to anybody else. So
Yeah.
Yeah. Not. Yeah. She not publicly.
Chapter 16 is when we also get a name for the crippled god, Kaminsod.
oh, is that what it? Yeah.
Yeah. What
Which
do you think
this,
about the name?
I don't know. This sounds kind of funny, but I don't know. Maybe it's derived from a real language, and I don't want to offend anybody. Um,
It's derived from something, and we can
it
definitely
is.
talk about that later. Yeah.
Yeah, we
Is
can't
it
talk about it for a long time though.
like? Can we talk
Don't think
about
about
it
it.
during the crippled god?
At the
Maybe at
end.
the end.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Kaminsod. Anyway,
Yeah.
that section is so and so talking to Kilimandros. They said
Eris, Knuckles.
it was it. No, it's a
I don't know.
she.
I
Erastus
just remember
Knuckles, Bug,
I
or
just remember
Tailspring.
everyone was just like, Erastus, you suck.
Yeah, Erastus, you suck, and also you're a dumb idiot because we've all been doing things and you haven't.
Oh yeah. No, I think it was Olar Ethel. Talking to Kilimandros. She was like, "You are all blind. The crippled god, he is nothing. Among the gods, his allies break and scatter. Among the mortals, corruption devours his cult, and his followers are wasted in the lost. Camisod has no army to summon to his defense. His body lies in pieces scattered across 7 continents. He is as good as dead. She jabbed a bony finger at the errant. Even the deck of dragons has a new master, and I tell you this, Erastus, you cannot stand against him. You're not enough. She gave us a lot of info if she's to be trusted.
Mm-hmm.
If she's be trusted, which I think she's proven herself not to be.
Well, she's not to be trusted, I think.
I'd say she's not to be trusted.
I
But yes, some of what
Okay.
she's saying is obviously true, and some of it's not.
Okay. Thanks. And then,
I would say most of it is colored by her perception.
I think that's a good way to put it.
Yeah.
okay.
She is saying things that she believes to be true.
Okay. And then Mail says the master of the deck has an ally, one that even you, Olar Ethel, seem unaware of. And she is more of a wild knuckle than anything such lath was ever in the habit of casting. And it's a she, so I'm like, okay, is it Tavor? Is it Sin? Maybe it's Sin, because Olar Ethel hasn't said anything about Sin.
Sin is definitely a wild knuckle.
Mm,
Yeah.
I wouldn't. Yeah.
Mhm.
Fun chapter.
Fun chapter. Yeah, I guess everything you said about like the place they met in the sacred spot for the EMS. That was like said explicitly in the chapter. It was very cool though. Shout out to that section. One second. I have a quote. I don't remember if it's from this chapter or the next chapter.
I have one very long one for 18, and I'm definitely gonna read it.
It's for 17. Okay. Chapter 7. Sorry, there are
Oh, wait. Sorry.
Go ahead.
In chapter 16, remember all the worshiping of the Malazans, especially the older guard? Somebody was like, he knew how they damn near worship Sergeant Fiddler, and God's forbid anything bad should happen to him. And I say, damn right. God forbid anything bad should happen to Fiddler.
Yeah, it's totally like a meta narrative. That's
Yes.
right.
I don't know. Maybe Steve's setting you up.
Yeah, maybe.
Mm,
Chapter 17. Tool awakens a dormant army of Emas. Talk and Sitok guide Hetan's children to safety. Plans are made to return Hetan to a brother, ending in tragedy on the eve of battle.
I found the sections between Talk and the children quite comforting, despite being scary and I don't know, not exactly great. But I don't know. I like their kid and finding the undead eye and then be like, "You're my daddy's friend," and he's like, "I'll protect you, kids. Stay inside the circle." This guy's undead and scary, but I kind of like him. I don't know. I liked it.
Um, I was kind of bored with the talk and children sections. Although I do like Sitok.
really?
I like the girls.
Wow.
I like Stavi and Story. Is it?
Story,
Uh-huh.
Savian story.
Yeah, they're really interesting characters, and I do want more of them. It's just like this section with them was meh.
Interesting, okay. I thought it was cool that he could summon the eye.
Yeah, he just had kind of like has like a racial memory of being a friend of an eye, and
I
he
guess.
just knew how to summon them.
It was just nice to be like, who will
He's half Tool.
obviously talk. Yeah.
Yeah,
Who will obviously talk to his kid a lot about talk.
Mm,
yeah.
And it's obvious, considering how much they trust him.
yeah.
I don't know, just that bromance, it makes my soft heart softer.
Yeah. Yes, but also it's kind of like heartbreaking to see Talk this way, for
Mhm.
me at least. He's he's so damaged. He's so different than what he was. Like from book to book, Talk he feels like completely different characters. And like at this point, like he's kind of just like a husk of a man. He's got almost nothing left. He's so broken, so thoroughly broken, and he almost can't emote at all anymore.
This is interesting because I remember in Gardens of the Moon when we first meet Talk, and you guys were like, "Oh yeah, I forget that this was how he started out," and I was like, "Okay," and now here we are.
Yeah. Talk is Erikson's whipping boy. For the sins of mankind, Talk has to suffer.
So mean. I don't think who has it worse than Talk, because I can't think of anybody.
So, in terms of like actually shown on the page, it probably is Talk. I think other characters probably beat out Talk. In term like if you count off-screen suffering, but
Ellison's probably his only rival.
maybe. Fellison,
Uh,
maybe
I don't want to
Sin.
get. I'm not going to get into spoilers. Maybe we can have this talk later.
Yeah.
We could talk about
Yeah,
Talk after every.
we can rank the suffering of each character in the series
That's the point, right?
in a
Who has it
36-hour
worse?
episode. Who has it worse? And
Your
then we can
sorrow
assign
is
sympathy
nothing
points to each
to
of them.
my sorrow.
Stay tuned for a bonus episode of tier ranking suffering in Malazan.
Okay, that'll
Honestly,
be all
that
you
sounds
guys.
like an excellent like an excellent bonus episode.
I feel like that would just be like the antithesis.
Well, it's definitely something that I think we would have to do pretty inebriated, or
You
like
should invite AP on for that.
I think you would hate it.
There's a new character introduced in this chapter called Bitter Spring.
hmm,
And there's like they're the broad, whatever, a mass.
Oh, the new Imas.
yeah, the second
Yeah.
wave, basically.
Like, yeah, we didn't join you the first time, but like, yeah, we thought we'd join you afterwards. It's like, wow, I didn't know you could do that. Yeah.
So they
Um,
had their own ritual, or what is exactly?
they
Yeah.
they mimicked the ritual of Talon.
How do you do that?
Yep. With
Just
your own casters.
yeah, you make
Oh,
you
because
make a very binding vow. Yeah.
they were a tribe of only bonecasters, right? Or like they were led by bonecasters. They didn't have a like individual leader.
Yeah. That was it.
Um, this is like a complete tangent, but she mentioned that sparks were born of hidden fires, the soul's own array of earth fires, each one devoted to simple, immutable truths, one for every need, one for every want, one for every fear, which is really cool, very poetic. But the part that I want to talk about is hidden fires. Did you know that um, early on during NASA, like they didn't have good enough technology, so there would be hydrogen gas leaks, and hydrogen is super flammable, and so their NASA employees had to walk around with long brooms to detect whether or not there were hydrogen leaks. Like if the broom combusted, they would know
Oh, jeez.
that there were hydrogen gas leaks, and they would like, oh, mark that area as unsafe to go to.
I did not know that. That's interesting.
Yeah, that is very interesting. Yeah, my quote was actually from her. Yeah, so it's actually the next line from what you had Panda. Once this revelation found her, reading the futures of her kin was an easy task. Reason delivered the illusion of complexity, but behind it all, we are as simple as Bedouin, simple as as Renog. We rut and bare our teeth and expose our throats. Behind our eyes, our thoughts can burn bright with love or blacken with jealous rot. We seek company to find our place in it, and unless that place is at the top, all we find dissatisfies us, poisons our hearts. In company, we are capable of anything murder, betrayal. In company, we invent rules to quench every spark, to ride the murky tide of emotions, to be once again as unseeing and as caring as the beasts. I was hated, I was worshipped, and in the end, I am sure I was murdered. Yeah. Yeah, Bitter Spring is on the camp of humans are simple. Excellent. She also sees the light.
My favorite part of the chapter was when Talk was talking to the 14 undead Jag Hut and said that the Emas would find the Jag Hut nostalgic as they're chopping them to bits.
Oh yeah,
Yeah,
that was funny.
Talk's
I'm
still
sure
got a
they
sense of
would.
humor.
Yeah.
Yeah. Hey, Jag Hut.
That was
To be
so
fair,
well done. Like that
yeah.
sequencing and wording.
The checkout the reason this is brought up is because they're just like, hey, are there any Mas that we can just go and murder? Was this a thing for Jagat? Did they just go out and just like sometimes just have Mas hunting parties? I wouldn't be surprised.
Well, these Jag Hut existed before like their wars started, right? So
Yeah. Or
they were separated from the context of yeah, maybe.
yeah.
I don't think so though. That doesn't seem very jacked. It sounds like I think that's a joke.
The Jagdhet, obviously they went through a pretty cataclysmic change in their culture at some point, right?
Yeah,
So I think it's entirely possible that pre that cataclysmic change, they were, they were radically different. Let's
could
say
be.
something
Could be.
convinced them to change like they did.
I know, I specifically read that as just as a joke.
Maybe it's possible. Who knows with these guys?
I don't think
Steve,
they do.
that's who.
I don't think
They're
Steve
like
knows either.
they're like 800,000-year-old edgy teenagers. Oh, we take nothing seriously. We're so cynical. Ha 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 ha.
Okay, exactly that way. Yes.
Yeah,
But they're funny though.
sometimes.
Hmm.
Last chapter.
We didn't even talk about how sad it was that Kafal died like 20 paces away from Hitan.
That was
Oh,
sad.
and Vidal's line, like I held her soul in my hands, like Rut holds held. Damn,
Yeah.
that
Yeah.
was a good line.
And then Hatan also died.
And Bakal and what's her face also die, trying to do like this one good thing,
Mm.
which here are the people acting out against their horrible culture and they get killed for it. It's
I
very
wasn't
sad.
expecting him to die. I thought he was gonna succeed.
Me too.
So I did not see that
Yeah,
coming. And
we're all
then
hoping for it.
the was it Ercole? Whatever Bakal's like second. Um
Oh, I know what you're talking about. I
Yeah,
remember his name.
yeah. His name
uh
doesn't really matter. It's like mentioned once.
whatever that guy's
So
name
many
is.
black, but Bargas political names are just not important. Like, oh, this person, and they kill each
Yeah.
other because they kill each other, and
But he said that at least, before Bakal, you know, disappeared, didn't come back, like they had discussed what they were going to do the next day. And I was like, "Oh, what are they gonna do?" And it turns out they were going to break away from the rest. And I was like, "Oh, cool." But then did they all get killed?
Uh, I don't think that the one
The
the Sinan died.
Sanan?
Yeah,
Yeah.
I think all of the other Barghest did.
Okay.
But we will undoubtedly find out in the next book.
Okay.
Uh, so hey, it won't be too long of a wait. Yeah, Tool was succeeding in changing the Barghest more than he knew.
Yeah.
yeah,
What a
Yeah,
man.
which makes it makes it more tragic to me. you know? There are all these times when things could have gone different, could have gone better, and they just don't.
Yeah. The
Such is
quote
tragedy.
is he and so many others had looked into the face of Onos Tulan and had seen his compassion, had seen it so clearly that the only response was to recoil. The mass had been an eternal warrior. He had fought with the warrior's blessing of immortality, given the gift of battles unending, and then he had willingly surrendered it. How could such a man, even one reborn, find so much of his humanity still alive within him? And I think this is a nice way to contrast with the Bargas because the Bargas are like, their whole identity is being warriors. And
Mhm,
that's kind of like the excuse for why they are so savage. But then Tool was also a warrior many, many times.
mhm.
Um, but he's so different. Like he still has so much compassion. It was just a nice contrast.
And Tool is actually older than the Barghest gods,
Mm,
and they don't appear in this book at all, right? But they're actually the ones that are responsible for most of what's happening here, right? Like it's mentioned a lot of times, like the Barghest gods are awful. They're the ones that are egging the Barghest on. They need to find enemies to
right.
kill. They need to prove themselves in battle.
Is that
Yeah, that's
something like I guess yes, the Bargas gods do exist, or is that more like
they exist.
an
Yeah.
excuse? Okay.
So in Memories of Ice, if you remember, they recover the Barghest gods basically
Oh yeah, yeah,
from
yeah.
where they were in
They
Kapustan.
were like the trees planted upside down to keep
Yeah,
them.
some
yeah,
no,
yeah,
no,
yeah.
so those were like the stick snares. the gods were in like the ancient canoes that were buried in Capistan, I think.
Oh, okay.
And Piran actually blessed them. Ganos Piran blessed them.
Yes. I remember
And
that.
yeah, like at the time, it was like, oh, you don't know what you just did you? And no one
Uh,
did. And turns out he was sanctioning this horrible group who just wanted to have more slaughter.
I see.
Which, yeah, being the master of the Deck of Dragons is a tough gig.
Well, it's not like he's all knowing. He just has some power, you know.
Yeah, exactly. Like, he's doing all these things, and he doesn't understand it. Like, no, there's no guide to being the master of the Deck of Dragons. Like, there's like one person who could give him guidance. That's Erastus, and he's not going to do it.
Mm,
But yeah.
cool.
Should we go to chapter 18?
Hmm.
Yes.
Twilight and Yedin explore the ruins of Carcanis and stand on the first shore. Ikariam takes a seat upon the throne of the abandoned Kachan Shamal city. Withal and Sandalath make it to Carcanis. Draconis returns to the world, erasing the Barghest and Akrini armies to nothing. Akrini? I don't know.
Remember
I
when I
feel bad
said,
for...
oh, go ahead.
No, go ahead, go ahead.
Remember when I said we're probably going to see Veed again?
Unfortunately.
Yeah, we sort of do.
Unfortunately.
Like,
Anyway.
he is just, yeah, he's just a ghost here. But, a ghost killing ghost, I guess.
So can ghosts die? Like, I guess.
These are metaphorical deaths.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm not sure that these are actually real ghosts. They might all just be like
Is he
parts of
hallucinating?
Ikariam's mind. Yeah.
I think what's happening here is they were all absorbed into Ikariam's proto Warrens when he turned
Yeah.
on the machine, and now
Uh-huh.
they're like these are like the echoes of them, or their souls. And yeah, like Ikariam, like Cruel, is not like his entire essence is spread out among like the many worlds now.
Hmm.
So
He kind of
they are
exists
kind of,
everywhere.
yeah, like maybe a subconscious part of him is showing himself these ghosts, in an attempt to kind of process what he went through
Okay.
Mm.
and
Okay.
give himself like a grounding. Because if you remember, like in the end of Reaper's Gale, he was saying that he needs to ground himself in something. Like
Hmm.
the moment when he walks into the machine in Reaper's Gale, that's now his time zero. That's when everything
Hmm.
else is going to be measured off of, and he's kind of like a newborn baby now. Except for
Mm.
it turns out he also has some very repressed memories from his past, where I think he killed his entire village.
Hmm. So
But
when
yeah,
they
now
say
he's learning how to be human, basically.
he's flawed, right? Is it talking about his memory loss, his amnesia?
He's talking. Yeah, I think he's talking about a few different things regarding like obviously he was like a vessel of chaos,
Hmm.
and a flawed vessel, and his memory was
And
leaking out.
his machines weren't exactly working correctly as well.
Yeah,
Okay.
and the warrens that he created are malformed, and Sin, I think, said that they were going to fix them.
Right. Okay.
He's got a body now, right?
Yeah, well, he had a body the entire time, but he just didn't think
Could have
that he
fooled
did.
me. Well, this chapter's got carriage tracks. That's interesting.
Yeah.
Why is there a carriage?
Well, the guild,
The guild.
the
Oh,
Crackdown Guild.
Trail Trade
expect
Guild.
them. Wow.
Oh.
Yeah.
They be
We haven't seen them for a really long time.
Well, since Toll the
last.
Hounds.
Yeah, they were in Hounds taking Mappo somewhere.
Yeah, but like we're almost to the end of this book and we haven't seen them, you know?
That's true. They hadn't shown up previously for many books in a row, right? Like they weren't in House of Chains or Midnight Tides, I
But
think. Were they even Bone
dude,
Hunters? I don't think so.
this is like getting towards the end of the series. Like you can't just
You can't get
not
rid of the
talk
Trail
about
Trade Guild.
them. They have a role
They're
to
like the
play.
central pillar for the
No, but they are a puzzle piece.
like sort of. They're like what they are is pretty simple, right? They're just a guild
Uh-huh.
of mages
Uh-huh.
essentially that think this is a good way to make a buck, and also convenient plot device.
Yes.
Um,
See, that's the part, convenient plot device, right? So
yeah,
I'm waiting
yeah,
for when they show up again to be convenient.
but they're not like thematically significant in the series, right? They're not.
No, but see, I'm
They're
interested in the
useful.
plot, which is why I found a lot of this book kind of boring.
The Dust of Dreams is Panda's enjoyment of the book.
Is it?
I think so.
What is the dust? We'll talk about that later.
You had dreams of how good this book would be. They're all
Well,
dust now.
I think Jan Tovis and Legendarium's relationship is very interesting, and how he's the doer and she's the thinker, and they kind of balance each other out. And I don't know. I just think that's a nice
I
way
loved
to.
their conversation here at the first short. It was excellent.
there was a
They're talking
lot of
about
info given.
the history of the light and dark and shadow and where they fall in between all this, and big aesthetic things. Yeah, all excellent. I don't know if I have any comments on it really, besides the fact like, oh yes, Steve obviously likes shadow and complexity and nuance, and this is probably why he's a soft spot for the shake.
Whittle's hearing voices in his head. That's
Oh yeah,
strange.
he heard one voice, right? Like,
Yeah, he
hasn't
heard
she
a
suffered
voice.
enough? Yes.
Yeah, is it Mother Dark's voice? Because apparently she's back. Which,
Why
if
would she
she's
be
back,
talking to Whittle? That's weird.
well, because Sandleth is like dying, and
Yeah. And he
Sandleth
cares about
is the
Sandleth.
child of Mother Dark. But also,
Yeah, in a sense. Yeah.
where has Mother Dark been this whole time?
Dealing with things, I assume.
Ignoring her
Also,
children until Rake said, "Stop it."
can I just say the jade things in the sky?
Yeah.
They keep like
It's like a sword of Damocles.
occasionally, yeah, they keep like casually mentioning, oh yeah, the jade talon, oh yeah, the jade streaks in the sky. I'm like, how is it that nobody else on this world is like really freaking out about what the falling things in the sky are?
Yeah, this is like there is a genuine apocalypse hanging over their heads, and a lot of people are just continuing business as usual. How about that?
Stars are
It's
dumb.
like
I mean, who looks at them anyway?
Don't Look Up. Did you ever watch that?
Yeah,
What movie? Yeah. Okay. Well, Huron, you can go watch it. You'll probably enjoy it. Um,
Someday.
it's a very obvious metaphor for for something. I guess
I
we
s-
can't talk about, but
okay. Or it's the Autobots or Decepticons coming to Malazan.
yeah,
That would be quite the twist.
that
I'm just saying. They are
I would
aliens.
Yeah.
absolutely. Yeah,
So is the
would
crippled god.
I would
Maybe the
watch the
crippled
hell out of
god is
whatever that is.
actually a transformer.
He's
Is
Optimus Prime.
No, he would be Megatron.
No, he's not Megatron. He's Optimus Prime if Optimus Prime was like ripped into 17 different pieces and tortured for hundreds of thousands of years.
No, Optimus
You
would
know?
never be like
I'd
that.
read that. I'd watch
Okay.
that. That should be the next Transformers movie.
Maybe he's Sentinel Prime then.
Sentinel. I think that's closer. Yes, Sentinel Prime.
There you go.
I
Anyway.
don't know
But
what that's
imagine if we had the voice actor for Optimus Prime reading out Kamenson's parts.
Oh my goodness, yes. Okay.
good voice.
Yeah.
What else happened in this chapter?
Draconis happened.
Yeah.
Yes. How?
He's freed from Dragnipur.
Yeah.
Because of the
So
swirly whirly tattoo-y thing?
No, because Dragnipur was destroyed.
yeah, because
Yeah. So when it was destroyed, then everything in it was every surviving being in Dragnipur was freed.
basically this
Oh,
chapter is when the end of Tola Hounds happens. Mother
I
Dark is
see.
suddenly back. Draconis is suddenly back.
Wait, doesn't that mean Hood is back?
Who knows?
Maybe.
Maybe.
I
I don't
mean,
know.
Okay.
yes, you do.
So, okay. So Hood said that he wasn't going to be the god of death anymore. Essentially, he said that explicitly at the end of Told House. He's like,
Right.
enough. I've had enough of this. I'm quitting.
But
So
him as a character, not as a role, is still around.
who knows?
I
Maybe he'll join up with the Undead Jacket army.
Yeah, entirely possible.
Or
They said that
maybe
they hate
the
him.
Undead Jacket army was really consolidated into Hood, and they were Hood all along. That's too much of a conspiracy.
Hood was actually 14 Jagat the entire time.
Yeah.
That is my favorite Hood theory so far.
Because, like, how could he be at all these places? There's so much death in the world, you know?
So
And don't tell
was
me
it
Santa
was it
Claus.
sure. Yeah. So was it 14 Jagut in a trench coat, or was it just like every time you saw a Hood, it was another one of the 14 Jagut, just like
They they just
pretending
look
to be the others?
identical, and they all go by the name Hood, and they share a
I love this.
consciousness.
I the Jagged Hive Mind.
Yes.
Oh man, that is a
There you go.
fantastic theory. I love it.
It's not true. It's not right though. But okay, I did not know it was
I wish
Draconis
it
this whole
was.
entire time. So
Mhm.
I had to wait until they explicitly told me.
What do you mean this entire time?
Isn't he the storm?
He was
No.
the thing that killed these two armies.
Oh, but he's not the
This is
storm.
that. This is my quote, if you'll allow me.
Okay.
The descent of darkness broke frozen bone and flesh across the width of the valley, spilling out beyond the north ridge, devouring the last flickering flames from the burning heaps that had once been bar gas wagons. The vast battlefield glistened and sparkled as corpses and carcasses shriveled, losing their last remnants of moisture, and earth buckled, lurching upward in long ledges of stone-hard clay that jostled bodies. Iron steamed and glowed amongst the dead. The sky above was devoid of all light, but the ashes drifting down were visible, as if each flake was lit from within. The pressure continued pushing everything closer to the ground until horses and armored men and women became flattened, rumpled forms. Weapons suddenly exploded by heart shards hissing. The hillsides groaned, visibly contracted as something swirled in the very center of the valley. A darkness so profound as to be a solid thing. A hill cracked in half with a thunderous detonation. The air seemed to tear open. From the swirling miasma, a figure emerged, first one boot, then the other, crunching down in desiccated flesh, hide and bone, striding out from the rent footfalls heavy as stone. The darkness seethed, pulsed. The figure paused, held out a gauntleted left hand. Lightning spanned the blackness, a thousand crashing drums. The air itself howled, and the darkness streamed down. Withered husks that once had been living things spun outright as if reborn, only to pull free from the ground and whirl skyward like rotten autumn leaves. Shrieking wind, torn banners of darkness spiraling inward, wrapping, twisting, binding. Cold air rushed in like floodwaters through the crumbling dam, and it all swept through, burst into dust, and roiled wild in its wake. Hammering concussions shook the hills, sheared away slopes, leaving raw cliffs, boulders tumbling and pitching through the remnants of carnage. And still the darkness streamed down, converging, coalescing into an elongated sliver forming at the end of figure's outstretched hand. A final report loud as the snapping of dragon spines, and then sudden silence, a sword bleeding darkness dripping cold. Overhead, light afternoon sunlight burned the sky. He slowly scanned the ground even as desiccated fragments of hide and flesh began raining from the heavens. And then he stepped forward, bending down to retrieve a battered scabbard. He slid the sword home. A sultry wind swept down to the earth of the valley, gathering streamers of steam. He stood for a time, studying the scene on all sides. Ah, my love, forgive me. He set out, boots crunching on the dead, returned to the world, Draconis.
Dun, dun, dun.
Bum, bum.
Very
That's amazing.
cinematic.
Very
Yeah.
workmanlike, maybe.
Very workmanlike.
Oh
He
my
really
goodness.
focused on just plainly telling the events of the story there.
Whatever. That's
It's
metal as
fine.
I loved it.
Yeah.
But
Draconis is
no,
so cool.
the storm you don't really know what it is yet. Although there are hints.
Okay,
Yeah. Yeah. So yeah, the Draconis's arrival very different from what happened to
I see.
the other.
Okay, never mind. Then I didn't miss much.
Yeah, and this is another instance of, like the past coming back to ruin, it's like the trauma that people are inflicting on the world comes back to haunt them in the end. We see this in House of Chains with
Yeah.
the dog slayers getting killed by the ghost of Roroku. We see it many times in this book. It's not the last time we're going to see something like this, and I really appreciate it. It's the fantasy is metaphor made real, right? And this, yeah, like causing suffering to the world, that's not free, right? Even if you're just a selfish person, it's not
Karma?
something you can just get away with. Yeah, karma. Your
Well,
actions have.
we have a listener question about whether the ending of the Barghast, the white-faced Barghast, was earned.
Who gave the question? Sun Gamer, right?
Yes, Sun
Yeah.
Gamer.
Was it earned? Uh,
Do you
about
think
as much as. Mhm.
Sorry, the second part of the question was, do you think Draconis chose to cause that much damage, or was it unavoidable?
I think he picked where he landed very carefully.
I agree. I
You know,
think no matter what, his manifestation would have caused a lot of destruction. But yeah, I think he definitely chose there. I mean, what are the chances, right?
Well, he said,
yeah,
"Ah, my love, forgive me."
I think that
Uh,
was just him talking to Mother Dark as he entered the world.
yeah,
Forgive me
Oh.
that's
for
like
what I did.
Oh,
yeah,
I
it's like the
see.
first time you got to talk to her in many, many, many years,
Mm.
sort of.
This damn
Um,
sword.
yeah, like okay, so I don't think he did like an extended scouting expedition. I think he just like did a quick survey of the world and was like, ah, yes, they keep doing it. I'm gonna stop this particular instance, and he kind of wiped them both from existence, which is kind of a shame because the Acronite, honestly, I think they're like kind of mostly in the right,
They were
right?
just trying to defend themselves.
Yeah, like it was a totally unprovoked. Like the Bargas were totally unprovoked when they started murdering their merchants, and like what were they gonna do? Just let the Bargas kill them all? 'Cause that's what the
Mhm.
Bargas were gonna do if they didn't fight back. Um, and to be fair, yes, a lot of them were too eager, but at the same time, like if anything is a justified war, it's this one on their part, justified defensive war.
Okay. I was about to say, what? Yeah. I don't really have much to say about this chapter. I just really, 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 really like the end of it.
Mhm.
It's yeah, it's a very cool ending on everyone's part, I think. And yeah, we see like the ending or the we see these issues explored from a variety of angles, like Twilight and Yedden. Obviously, they're coming from the perspective of travelers who are very far removed time wise from horrific civil war events, humanity erasing things. Um, we have Draconis coming in to essentially clean up the middle, saying, "I'm putting a stop to this horrible thing right now." We get the Scepter Cruelis regretting his part in what's happening in the demonization of the other. We get the Barghast in the middle of this horrible cycle. We get the Sinan realizing that they don't want to be a part of it anymore, and we get Ikarium getting ready to do something.
He's got machine, right?
He's
Because
got
the
mhm,
drone started up the dino machines.
got a whole Dino City to work with.
Listener questions?
Yeah.
Okay, so we addressed one. Sun Gamer also says, with the benefit of seeing the end of the road of Galen, was Yedin Derek correct to do what he did? Do you trust him? Do you think Yan Tovis trusts him? We kind of addressed some of this. Anything else to add?
Yeah, Yedenderg was justified. I assume he's talking about the murder of the witches and warlocks. Yeah, in a real politic kind of way, absolutely justified. Um, in like a more rigorous ethical way, it's kind of more ambiguous, but it's also hard to see what else he could have done that would have just resulted in the witches and warlocks immediately overthrowing Twilight and kind of dooming their entire people.
Mm.
I'm going to do the self-righteous thing and say that murder's wrong.
All right, propose an alternative, you paladin of righteousness.
I don't need to. I just gotta say murder's wrong. I could
I
just
see.
sit back and judge people.
Ah, yeah, 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 yeah.
They could have
Yeah,
talked it
that's
out,
fair.
just
You
had
could
a
have
tea
knocked it out.
party or a dinner party and, maybe bang it out.
As they died from the impending change of the local climate.
Yeah. Yep. I think I think Yan Tovis, I think should trust him.
I think, yeah, they're essentially like the as Huron was saying, they're like the two halves of a whole
Yeah.
here. Like they each very much complete the other.
He's the yin to her yang.
Yeah.
Oh my God, Huron, an expert on ancient Chinese philosophy. My goodness.
Next, Sun Gamer says, I assume this will be covered, but how awesome, in the biblical sense, is Draconis' entrance? Yes.
Yes,
Agreed.
everything about Draconis is awesome.
I didn't really care for
About
it.
that. Yeah, Kieran definitely didn't care for it. Next, given we're in the second half of the second to last book, where do you think we're headed in broad strokes? Well, obviously, things. Am I gonna see the Ototaro dragon in this? I don't think so. I think Ototaro dragon will come in the next book. Um, but the Malazan group will reach the wastelands and find out what's really there, and revelations will occur among the ranks, and then Ikarium. It's gonna end with Ikarium doing something. That's my guess.
What do you think is the ultimate fate of the Bone Hunters here? What do you think they're going to try to accomplish?
Well, they're gonna go fight a war, you know?
Hmm.
Yeah.
To any particular end, or are they just doing what the
That's
Vargas
what
did?
soldiers do.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what soldiers do. They just go
We
and
need to
do what
fight
they're
an
told.
enemy in the desert.
Um,
We're
no,
Bone Hunters. Find us an
they're
enemy.
they're gonna get there and they're gonna give everybody there a hug.
Um,
Yep.
oh yes, we get Erastus's plan or earlier on here. Essentially, he wants to kind of rebalance everything. He thinks that Cruel's giving of magic freely to everybody was a mistake. He wants mortals to get their power through him again. What do you think of that?
Yeah, I think he needs to retire. It's time.
He's coming out of retirement though.
No, he just needs to go and like get a big yacht or an RV and go travel the world, do some sightseeing, maybe pick up
Touch grass.
crochet. Yeah. Maybe start scrapbooking.
I think you're right there.
Yeah.
Like he had this time where he's just kind of like listlessly sleeping around with everybody in Lethrus, including his own children, and that's not a healthy way to spend retirement. I think we can all agree.
No, I think he needs maybe he can join TikTok and, become TikTok famous and then he can exude his influence that way. Yeah.
I think he's
Exert.
absolutely the type of person that could become popular in TikTok.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Exert. That's what I meant. Anyway, next. Tormig asked about the hobbling, which we talked about. So that's it.
excellent.
Cool. So I sent out.
Yeah, very excited for the last book here.
It's a good last book.
Very good
So it
last book.
better be. I was kind of disappointed in this one.
I'm still very high on Dusted Dreams this read through. It's definitely gonna end up in my top 5. It might end up in my top 3.
I just need the plot. Like this first go through, I want to know what happens, and it's slow
That's totally
going.
fair. That's absolutely
I
fair.
I'm definitely a broken record, but I still refuse to judge Dust of Dreams and the Crippled God separately.
Okay.
Yeah, it's kind of like what Steve has says at the start of the book, right? It's like, yeah,
It's just
sorry,
half of it. It's
basically.
half of a
It's just
book.
half book. To me,
I'm
it feels more like a complete book, but I'm fine with people calling it half of a book.
I mean, I don't really care that it's half a book. I just want to know what happens. So,
It ends with a bang.
Ugh,
what
yeah,
kind
what a
of bang?
bang! A hell of a bang! One hell of a bang! It's my favorite bang. Whiskey Jack comes back.
Do all the dreams
Um,
come true? Like everybody who's been dreaming of their bang?
Yeah, the dust
yeah.
don't turn to dreams.
Hmm.
Oh, we didn't talk about what the Dust of Dreams is.
Oh yes, Kip had asked, "What is Dust of Dream?"
Yeah. It's like many things, right? Like it's the snake, it's what you leave behind after these atrocities. Most of all, I think it's, the general faith in people. This,
It is.
you have I think so. You have this idea of how the world is, and it's a kind of it's a nice place. You have your gardens of the moon. And you kind of get your eyes opened at one point, and everything seems to be dust. Everything seems to be futile. Everything seems to be cruelty.
Hmm. I guess, yeah. I mean, we could spend a whole 30 minutes talking about it and dissecting it, the different like ways to interpret it. But the short version, I think for me is I thought it was like a bunch of people had all these different dreams and they ended up just being crumpled and turned into dust, you know? They disintegrated,
Mhm.
did not come into fruition the way that they wanted to. Um, but I don't know, could be something else.
I think it's definitely top 3 titles of the series, right?
It's a
Dusted
good
dream.
title.
Dust of Dreams,
Uh,
Gardens of the Moon, excellent title. Midnight Tides, excellent title. Those are my top 3 titles.
Hmm. I like Memories of Ice.
That yeah, that one's really good too.
He has
I
good
think the
titles.
Dust of Dreams are the what happens to people when they dream of genocide. The Dust of Dreams is the Imas, and their dreams turn to dust when the Jackhats still are so awesome.
Oh my
And then
goodness.
Amandor comes in the continent, and they realize their folly. Their Gothos is folly.
I'm ready.
All
I'm
right.
ready for Rake to come back. Okay, just
Yeah?
yeah.
No, he's dead?
Come on. Well, if Draconis is back, then Rake is gonna be back.
Rake had kind of like an uber death.
Nah.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay.
Wait, seriously?
So,
Uh,
okay, to explain what he did in Toll the Hounds, right? Like, he essentially, like, diffused his entire power to, like, Curled Ghislaine or, like, Oblivion or whatever. He, like, made a gift of himself to Mother Dark.
Uh-huh.
And so, like,
So that's
like,
how
in a
she's
sense,
back?
he's sort of, um, she's back in a real way because she decided to turn towards her children again.
Oh,
She
okay.
she
decided,
accepted his sacrifice.
this is yeah,
I see.
I forgive you for what you have done and what my children have done. I'm gonna try again, basically, is
Okay, I
what she was
clearly
doing.
did not really understand the ending of Toll the Hounds.
Yeah, and
That's what
like
I'm gathering.
a lot of that I think is due to like the mystery of like why did Mother Dark turn away in the first place? Like what did they do that's so horrible? Why is she being so stubborn for so long?
Yeah.
And I think that could have been explored more meaningfully.
Okay.
But I think ultimately it is a plot point that works for me at least.
Well, the essence of Rake will be back somehow,
Mm.
is my guess.
Okay. That concludes this episode. If you want to join the read along and or contribute listener questions, check us out in the Legendarium's Discord. You can find the link on the legendarium.com. Also check us out on Twitter at GreenTeapot for updates and fun times. Check out the Legendarium podcast for Wheel of Time, Cosmere, Lord of the Rings content, and so much more. Thank you to the panelists Ashman, Janeth, Befuddled Panel, and I'm Hurin Fan. Until next time.
There, pew pew. Good
Bye
night.
bye.
Happy
Bye.
Canada Day.
Oh, Panda, you're not as good as other places. It's real cold here. A